good people. Welcome to Melanated Vibrations, a new show that celebrates the diversity and richness of Black culture. Join us as we delve into our individual mental health and overall mental health of our community. From the latest trends to the timeless coping mechanisms, we'll showcase the best of what it means to be mentally healthy. So sit back, relax, and get ready to feel the vibrations of Black excellence. Let's get started.
Hey, good people. Happy Monday. Welcome to Melanated Vibrations. I'm your host, Dominique, here with your co-host. As you're chewing on the screen, talk to the people.
Adairess. Hey, everybody. I'm sorry.
So, welcome to Melanated Vibrations. I hope everyone is having an amazing day. I hope that everyone had a really good weekend, that you all got some rest, that you got out and got some fresh air. I don't know what's going on outside today or for the rest of the week for that matter, but Mother Nature is she's a little bipolar. And we're going to talk about that later on. Sis, how are you today?
Overwhelmed.
Hey, I'm surprised you joined us. I mean, you know, you do have class. This is your last week of class. So I'm surprised you joined us.
I had some time, so.
Listen, you better pass some classes. That's all I know. I do not want to be blamed for nothing, okay?
As long as I get prayer, everybody give group prayer going on.
Okay.
I'm
we all
struggling.
pray for you. Everybody in the comments, everybody watching the show, we got you. We gonna pray. You got this. Like, you know, listen,
Oh,
at the finish line. You're done class Friday, right?
Sunday.
Okay, same difference. So, you know.
Scary, you know.
Yeah, same difference. All right, so we are going to start off as we usually do. I actually want to do something different this evening than me doing the grounding technique. I found, because you know I'm everything Black, right? Hence the name Melanated Vibrations. I actually found a Black male guided Black male voice guided meditation. It's very soothing, and I want to try it. I want to see if we can, get the people going. That's what I want to see. So I figure instead of us doing it, we will have this strong Black man do the meditation this evening. So I am going to share my screen. We'll probably do it for like about 4 minutes. He'll give you guys all the instructions. Again, if you are sitting down or you want to stand up, however you want to do this guided meditation, it is up to you. You would be nice if you're stationary. You're not driving, so you can focus, but this is share. There we go. All right, so we'll get started.
Perform this guided meditation in an area of peace and calmness. Choose your meditation position of comfort. You may choose to walk, lie down, sit in a chair, or a lotus position. If you choose to sit, be sure to sit comfortably with good posture. Eyes opened or closed, head and chin forward, not tilted, to ensure easy passage for breathing. Chest forward and shoulders back, allowing your heart chakra to be open and receptive to healing. positive energy, and love. Back straight, pelvis centered, tailbone slightly perched for proper grounding. Palms of your hands resting on top of your thighs. If sitting in a chair, legs uncrossed, feet planted, toes forward. We will begin with our breathing. Inhale. Take a deep breath in through your nose and exhale through your mouth. Again, deep breath in through your nose and exhale through your mouth. 3 seconds per inhale, 3 seconds per exhale. Continue to breathe as instructed. With each breath, free your mind and body of stress and tension, giving my voice your full attention.
So that was my guided meditation as my sister is over there chomping down on some snacks, not doing the exercise.
I was. You heard me.
You stressed. You supposed to be doing the grounding technique.
I was breathing. I wasn't chewing. I was breathing. I swear.
So, my intention for this evening, so let's set our intentions as we always do. My intention for this evening is to bring correction and knowledge.
Okay.
Hey, Deandra. Deandra is the host of Unlatch. It just premiered its first episode this past Friday. It was absolutely amazing. Such an amazing discussion. Her show comes on every Friday at 9 p.m. Please make sure you guys check it out. Thank you, Tiff, as always. Please make sure that you all are sharing this. Make sure you're tagging all of your friends. Hey, Rika. Hey, Creamy. Rika and Spado are the hosts, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful hosts of Women Wellness Wednesdays. They have an amazing show coming on this Wednesday. They're doing a little speed dating. I'm like super excited to tune in. So please make sure you guys tune into that on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. It's going to be a good show. Yes, Women Wellness Wednesday. Speed dating, y'all. You know, I'm out here trying to have a hot girl summer, but I might gotta pull up to that. You know, I'm just saying, I might have to pull up to the speed dating. I don't know. So I'm very happy and very excited. You know, every week they are bringing fire. Last week's show was absolutely amazing. It's always great to see Black women sticking together and providing knowledge to each other and loving on each other and pouring into each other. We do not have enough of that. Hey, Q, happy Monday, everyone. Yes. So that is my intention. Sis, what are you bringing into this space? What are you bringing into this space?
I would say learning more, but also giving at the same time.
Okay. I like it. Okay. What do you want to learn?
More about the dissociative disorder, not just from like the textbook. Mm-hmm. They teach you it, but I want to learn more than what I read because visual is everything.
That's true. Visual is everything. And sometimes people are, I think, like I said last week, sometimes people are suffering in silence. Some people are misdiagnosed, underdiagnosed, and we just have to learn to show grace to people. So when I said I am bringing into this space correction and knowledge, last week we talked about, I got a million things in my head right now. Last week we talked about, what did we talk about? Borderline
A
personality.
narcissistic personality disorder, borderline
Last
personality.
week we talked about borderline personality disorder. And we talked about, what was the other thing? Lord Jesus.
Narcissistic personality disorder.
Was it narcissistic personality disorder? Yeah, it was that. See, that's why I co-host y'all, because she knows she be on top of it.
Yep, I was
you were listening. I appreciate that. So last week we talked about narcissistic personality disorder and borderline personality disorder. So because I am a slight perfectionist, not like all the way a perfectionist, I went back and I listened to my own tapes as I always do. I want to make a correction and a distinction. We talked about borderline personality disorder. I'm so much of a perfectionist that I listened and then pulled out my books. This is what y'all made me do, right? I had to pull out my DSM-5. I had to go I got a bookshelf downstairs. I had to go flip through them pages, make sure I was telling y'all the right stuff. And I would like to stand corrected. Multiple personality disorder and borderline personality disorder are two different things. Borderline personality disorder is what we described. Multiple personality disorder is associated to what we are going to talk about tonight, which is dissociative identity disorder. They no longer call it multiple personality disorder. They call it dissociative disorder. And therefore,
okay, I know that.
Disorder. Yes, it's many types of dissociative disorder, and that's something we're going to get into. So I don't want to be out here giving y'all the wrong information. I don't want y'all to be like, my online therapist said, no, I want to make sure that I'm giving you guys the correct and accurate information, so that when you are telling your friends to tag into this show or just out having these conversations and you guys are a part of this mental health world with me, you can make sure you're providing the right information. Y'all don't even know how much that bothered me all week. I was like, I got to let them know I had made a little tiny mistake. It just be a lot going on in my head. But borderline personality disorder is separate from multiple personality disorder. Multiple personality disorder is more related to DID, dissociative identity disorder, but they no longer refer to it as multiple personality disorder. There's plenty of movies, plenty of shows on there. I actually have a few clips for this evening that I actually would like to show. So again, my apologies for anyone out there that was listening. I do want to make that clear. Multiple personality disorder, borderline personality disorder are two different things. Multiple personality disorder is associated with dissociative identity disorder, but they no longer call it that. So yes, I go, listen, I'm gonna go hard in the paint for this mental health stuff. I had to go do my own research. I had to pull out my books. I had to knock some dust off of some of them because I haven't read them since I graduated, because that's what you do. After you graduate, they go on the bookshelf and you never look at them again. So this evening, we are actually going to talk about two disorders, but they are disorders that are very, they're not just like the easiest disorders, right? So when people think bipolar disorder, a lot of the time people don't actually know what bipolar disorder is, the different versions of bipolar disorder. Or when people talk about dissociative identity disorder, they don't understand that it is really dissociative disorder. And there are many categories that fall underneath of dissociative identity disorder. So I'm trying to think if I want to show the clip first. We'll do a little history and then I'll show the clip. So what is bipolar? So for anyone that may have experienced someone with bipolar disorder, here's a little refresher for you. For people that do not know what bipolar disorder is, let me tell you. So bipolar disorder is a brain disorder that causes changes in a person's mood, energy, and ability to function. People with bipolar disorder experience intense emotional states that typically occur during a distinct period of days to weeks, called mood episodes. Another really good book, and I should have brought it up here with me. It's a book called The Mood Cure. It's a really great book. Teaches you all about different moods, affects, and all of that stuff. It's a really good book. It just made me think about it when I said it's called Mood Episodes. So these mood episodes are categorized as manic, hypomanic. Now, hypomanic is abnormally happy or irritable mood, or you could be depressive and have a more sad mood. So when you hear people talk about hypo mania, this is what they are referring to when it comes to the bipolar disorder. It's just the highs and the lows that the person goes through. So people with bipolar disorder generally have periods of natural mood as well. When treated, people with bipolar disorder can lead full and productive lives when treated. So as I said last week, when we were talking about borderline personality disorder, and we were talking about narcissistic personality disorder, specifically with borderline personality disorder and bipolar disorder. Again, I'm not an advocate for medication. Do I think some people need it? Absolutely. With medication and some form of psychotherapy, I think they are great. They go hand in hand. Can some people just take medicine and not seek therapy? People do it all the time. I wouldn't advise it. I would strongly suggest that if you're going to be on any type of mood stabilizer, that you seek some form of mental health therapy to go along with it. People without bipolar disorder experience mood fluctuations as well. However, these mood changes typically last hours rather than days. Also, these changes are not normally accompanied by extreme degree of behavior changes or difficulty with daily routines and social interactions that people with bipolar disorder demonstrate during mood episodes. So bipolar disorder can disrupt a person's relationship with their loved ones and cause difficulty in working or going to school. Bipolar disorder is a category that includes 3 different diagnoses. So someone can be, they can have bipolar 1, they can have bipolar 2, or they can have cyclothymic disorder. Cyclothymic. So it's CYCLOTHYMIC. That is a form of bipolar disorder. So bipolar disorder commonly runs in families. 80 to 90% of individuals with bipolar disorder have a relative with bipolar disorder or depression. Environmental factors such as stress, sleep disturbance, and drugs and alcohol may also trigger mood episodes in vulnerable people. Though the specific cause of bipolar disorder with the brain is unclear, an imbalance of the brain's chemicals is believed to lead to dysregulated brain activity. The average age of onset for someone with bipolar is 25 years old.
It's 21. It used to be 21.
They
it's not
may
21 anymore. Oh,
they have moved it up.
Changed over the years now.
I would hope that at 21 we aren't diagnosing people that early. I mean, at 21, what do you know, right? Like you're still kind of all over the place.
You're all over the place.
Yeah, like I'm all over the place at this age. So I just feel like that's a bit much, right?
Mm-hmm.
People with bipolar 1 disorder frequently have mental disorders such as anxiety disorder, substance use disorder, and or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, so ADHD for short. The risk of suicide is significantly higher among people with bipolar 1 disorder than among the general population. So that is bipolar disorder. I want to show the clip before I get into the difference between bipolar 1, bipolar 2, and cyclothymic disorder. So for all of you that have watched, there is a show called Grey's Anatomy, for all of those that, out there that are Grey's Anatomy fans. I'm going to show a clip of what it kind of looks like. And let's see if you guys agree.
Whatever.
I didn't say manic. Mania?
No.
Agitation.
1 in a million diagnosis.
Due to confidence.
Had post-op rashes and electrolyte abnormalities. Now, I need to know if his appendix had a carcinoid tumor because he already shares 2 symptoms with Suzanne.
Pre-sex drive.
No, none of that.
There have been warning signs, high highs, low lows. Do you remember when Sam left and he couldn't get off your sofa? And then he went and threw himself on the fire in Dr. Weber's operating room. He was very low and it was suddenly the opposite.
Oh, he does feel things very deep.
To understand,
Exaggerating, okay? We're taking away resources from actual
don't
patients.
properly consider the consequences of your actions is a sign of mania. He aggressively pursued a relationship with his boss and cried for your crime, and then he went to jail, prepared to lose his medical career.
I mean, we're all a little manic when we're in love.
Yes, but you don't all have his family history. He's not sleeping, he's not eating.
Okay, so how do you tell a healthy obsession from mania?
You can't discriminate against me because you think I have a problem.
And you can tell us about it when we're finished.
No. How about now? You gonna listen to me now? It means you're gonna kill him because that's what you're doing. You know that, right?
You, Andrew.
It's crazy. Not crazy. You're hurting her. All right, everybody, you know what to do. Dangerous person in the hospital. Okay, we need to join hands, form a human chain around her. Okay, let's go. Come on, everybody, come on. Get around her, guys. Okay. Don't let her. What are you doing? No. This is not okay.
Please escort Dr. DeLuca to my office.
Me? What? You're just gonna let her go? Oh my gosh. Okay, open your eyes, people. Okay, she's selling human beings. Look at her. She's afraid. That's not love. That's a trauma bond. Okay? She's threatening her or her family. I know it. Okay? She's torturing her. She's selling her. Bailey, stop this, please. Oh. We need to save her.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Stop it.
He's a resident and your chief of general surgery. Would you even think to ask the question if you didn't love him?
I can't. I don't know what's going on. I've had a very stressful couple weeks. That's all.
Okay.
So yes, that is bipolar disorder. That is what it looks like for the most part. In people, those highs, those lows, all those emotions, the rambling, the high sex drive, kind of a little bit of all of what you all seen, paranoia. And so not sure if anyone knows anyone that has it or has experienced anyone. I watched that clip and I got really emotional the first time because I was like, I can't imagine having someone, right, that goes through those highs and lows to that extreme and what that must feel like for the people that encounter them on a daily basis. Now, as you see, this is a show, but he was a doctor, right? So he's dealing with patients. Their life is literally in this person's hand. And you just got to roll with the punches. What I loved the most was that they supported him. They formed the circle around him. They created a safe space. They talked him down. They told him it's okay. Like, it's not, no one stood in the gap and was like, oh, we're judging you. How could you? You're a doctor. You shouldn't be doing this. They stood where they needed to, and they gave him a safe space. So I thought that was a really powerful clip of what it kind of looks like for a person on a day-to-day basis. Someone that may have bipolar disorder, whether, you know, what version of it is, it may be. And to like, maybe they don't know. And so when we say things like, oh, your mood, like you moody today. Maybe they're not just moody today. Like maybe we should look and track and figure out like how many of these things are they meeting? How many qualifications are they meeting? And so I thought it was a really, really, really great clip. So do you have anything you want to say about the clip?
It looks like that, but for TV purposes, they probably dumbed it down. It's so much worse to the point where it made me want to cry because I've encountered that so many times. And a lot of times the mania looks different. It looks different. I think it's a lot harder with somebody you love, like their family. Like talking to the family, they don't get it. They're like, oh, well, hey. They always think, well, you know, they're just in a bad mood today. They're on medication for a reason. So his high today is very high to the point where it's hyperactive, but that low looks like that, but it looks 10 times worse. I mean, they're crying, they're ready to hit you, they're ready to hit the wall. I've seen somebody has charged me before, but they'll come back.
Yeah.
Once you realize, like, hey, you almost hit me, you almost whipped my ass, basically. But they'll come back maybe either the next day or a couple hours later, and they'll be like, Miss Adairess, like, that wasn't me. And you think like, oh, this is bullshit, but it's really not. It's really not them. Like, you have to have compassion to understand that. When he started crying and like he was standing up and started crying, that's what made me kind of feel like really bad, because those people need that support, and a lot of time the family don't give that. They will not give that. Yeah, low is rock bottom to the point where
Ready to witness.
it make you want to hug them, but if doing that, sometimes it makes it worser, because, or more worse, because it's like almost shaking a person with a seizure. Let them go through the seizure and lay them down and let them do it, because if not, then it becomes real aggressive. So that really high, and that really that stuff is like hard.
Yeah.
You offer a cigarette, or you offer Pepsi, or find their favorite thing to give them and just make them like kind of like stop, and then they'll kind of like be like, okay. And it's almost like being in a trance. You won't recognize them for like a good 2 hours, because they'll be going back and forth. Like, I've had clients who've done it for like 4 or 5 hours of my shift. We've only got 3 peaceful window of that hour. Out of them 8 hours, it was only 3 of them that were good. The 5 hours, I'm going back and forth like, okay, sit down. You want to smoke a cigarette? You want some coffee? You want some Pepsi? You want me to get some? At this time, it's like I'm trying to get a child to just stop. But it's like really like it's like a rabbit hole. And it's like you can't stop that rabbit hole from happening. You just have to let it happen. And it's sad that in the mental health world, and especially in the melanated mental health world, they don't see support as that. They rather give you haloperidol. They rather give you lithium. They rather give you lorazepam. They rather give you the other psycho whatever drugs. And they rather just throw it at that. But I'm like, sometimes they might not need that. Sometimes they do need sex. What's wrong with them having hypersexual? As long as they're being safe about it, okay. And then they take sex away from them. And then they be like, oh, well, I don't think you should be practicing that. And I'm like, okay, that's a human thing. You can't take a human thing away from somebody. What about cognitive therapy? A lot of times they don't give them that. It's just lithium and lorazepam, and that's it.
Yes, you have to love on them, support them. However, it can weigh on you. Yes, it does weigh on you mentally.
It does.
Even as a trained professional, right? Like, seeing someone go through that, in and out of that, it's hard. You don't know what you're going to get, and it doesn't matter what you say. There's no rhyme or reason or rationale that you can tell this person that they are going to understand when they are in a certain state. The best thing you can do is support them. Like, as you see the therapist in, Grey's Anatomy, she allowed him to talk. She created a safe space. He said mania. She was like, I didn't say that. And even though she knew the behaviors he was describing, not one time did she, not one time, is that my bro-in-law in the comments? Hey, bro. Not one time did she be like, well, that's not true, and I'm sure you did this. She said, okay. Okay.
A listening ear. Do you want a cigarette? Do you want to take a walk? Like, I had a client, he would go so low. He was like, and imagine somebody is like 6'3", a big old grizzly bear of a man. And he was like, I'm gonna fucking kill him. And I'm looking at this big man, I'm like, oh my God. He was like, yeah, let him hit me. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's low point right now. And I was like, no. I said, grizzly bear, you're like this. He's a grizzly bear. How he gonna attack you? He was like, he said, I'm gonna hit him. He said, I'm gonna hit him. And I said, no, we're not gonna hit him. We're gonna chill out. We're gonna go outside. We're gonna get your favorite donut. We're gonna do something. When I say I almost peed on myself that big old man almost attacked him, I was like, oh my God.
It's scary.
Somebody call somebody. I'm like, I don't want to put him in jail, because they'll come lock him up. He had a real bad, like, so low, it goes like attack mode low. Like he's willing to attack anybody. He don't care. He don't care who you are. But he's a very sweet human being besides that. But that medicine, he the ones that need it. He's one of those people that need that medicine. It's scary. Like I think for a therapist it's scary, but I feel like in residential is worse.
Oh, it's worse. Absolutely.
Because I'm tussling. It's like 6 guys in me. I'm not small, but I'm still a woman. I can't tussle 6 men that's gonna have a low. Hopefully they don't have the seasonal low when they feel like going into crisis. That's usually around when it gets too warm or too cold. You guarantee half your house is gonna miss. They're gonna not be there because they're gonna have that. I guess that would be bipolar 3. That would be that seasonal kind of depression. The environment, the weather, the people, their family, the triggers. They didn't get paid that day, or the monthly checks wasn't coming, the cigarettes wasn't in, the Pepsis wasn't in. You name it.
Something, whatever that trigger is,
it's bad. It becomes bad. It's worse.
Yeah. So for those that have experience with it, you already know what it looks like. So let's get into what bipolar 1 is specifically. So bipolar 1 disorder is diagnosed when a person experiences a manic episode. So during a manic episode, people with bipolar 1 disorder experience an extreme increase in energy and may feel on top of the world or uncomfortably irritable in mood. This is where we say those highs and those lows, 2 polar opposites, right? So some people with bipolar 1 disorder also experience depressive or hypomanic episodes. And most people with bipolar 1 disorder also have periods of neutral mood. So symptoms of bipolar 1 disorder include when they are having a manic episode. A manic episode, so let me define what a manic episode is. A period of at least 1 week when a person is extremely high, spirited, or irritable most of the day, possesses more energy than usual, experiences at least 3 of the following changes in behavior. Decreased need for sleep. They are feeling energetic despite significantly less sleep than usual. Increased or faster speech. Uncontrollable racing thoughts or quickly changing ideas or topics when speaking. Distractibility. Increased activity. This could be restlessness. This could be working on several projects at once. Or they could have increased risky behavior. Reckless driving, a spending spree, something like that. Sometimes when people are also in this manic stage, they become very risque when it comes to being sexually promiscuous or just being promiscuous in general. You find this a lot in women that suffer from bipolar disorder. They become ultra promiscuous in this unfortunate when they're having a manic episode. So these behaviors most represent a change from the person's usual behavior. And it is important that, when they're going through this, it's clear to their family and friends when they're going through this. Like your family and friends and loved ones can tell something's different. Symptoms must be severe enough to cause dysfunctions in work, family, or social activities and responsibilities. Symptoms of a manic episode commonly require a person to receive hospital care to stay safe. Some people experience manic episodes. They also experience disorganized thinking, false beliefs, and or hallucinations, known as a psychotic feature. And psychosis is something we'll get to. I have an uncle that unfortunately has some form of psychosis and schizophrenia. So good times, good.
That's an interesting thing.
And a little transparency, my mother had bipolar disorder. So my ex always would say, my son's father, he'd be like, "You bipolar just like your mama." Bitch, I might be. I don't know. I might be. I don't know. So my mother had bipolar 1 disorder, my uncle psychosis and schizophrenia. My son's dad, like to this day, he still says it. Like, yeah, you bipolar just like mom. That's what we call it, mom. It's just like, I don't know, strong possibility. We'll see what happens. I don't think I am, but we all have our moods, right? Now let's talk about what a hypomanic episode is. Now, a hypomanic episode is characterized by less severe manic symptoms. So you recall we just talked about with manic symptoms that need to last only 4 days in a row rather than a week. So manic episodes last for 7 days. Hypomanic episodes last only 4 consecutive days in a row. Hypomanic symptoms do not lead to the major problems in daily functioning that manic symptoms commonly cause. So that is hypomanic episodes. Now let's talk about when people that have bipolar 1 suffer from major depressive episodes. A major depressive episode is a period of at least 2 weeks in which a person has at least 5 of the following symptoms, including at least one of the first 2 symptoms. So I'll say it again. It lasts for a 2-week period. They have at least 5 of the following symptoms, but they also need to have at least one of the first 2 symptoms that I'm about to read. So there is intense sadness or despair, loss of interest in activities the person once enjoyed. So that is a part of depression, right? Loss in pleasurable activities. Feelings of worthlessness or guilt, fatigue, increased or decreased sleep, increased or decreased appetite, restlessness, their pacing or slowed speech or movement, difficulty concentrating, and frequent thoughts of death or suicide. So we've covered so far what falls underneath of bipolar 1 disorder. So we have manic episodes, which remember that has to be for a period of 7 days. Hypomanic episodes that only has to be 4 days in a row. And then we have major depressive episodes, which last for at least 2 weeks, has to be at least 5 of the following symptoms, but it has to include at least one of the first 2, which again is intense sadness or despair, or loss of interest in activities that a person once enjoyed. Wait, put the comments back up. They went so fast. I was trying to read them. I don't read that fast. Something that Deandra said. I liked it. So let's talk about treatment for these. Treatment and management. So with bipolar disorder, symptoms commonly improve with treatment. Medication is the cornerstone of bipolar disorder treatment, though talk therapy, also known as psychotherapy, can help many patients learn about their illness and adhere to medication, preventing, future mood episodes. Medications known as mood stabilizers, as previously mentioned, and the example they give is lithium, which is what my sister said. Mood stabilizers are the most common prescribed type of medication for bipolar disorder. These medications are believed to correct the imbalanced brain signaling. Because bipolar disorder is a chronic illness in which mood episodes typically reoccur, ongoing preventative treatment is recommended. Bipolar disorder treatment is individualized. People with bipolar disorder may need to try different medications before finding the right one that works for them. So that is bipolar 1. Anything you want to add, sis, before I go to bipolar 2?
If you feel like you are a loved one and they might diagnose you with lithium, this is just my experience solely off of textbook as well as face-to-face. I feel like lithium is a bad idea because at the end of the day, it is poison. It is not something I feel like should be long-term. I feel like they force long-term lithium on you, but I feel like lithium is not good for you. I had a client that was on it for, I think, a good 20 years or so. And after it being in his system, that drug being in his system for so long, I think he died from complications of it. So I would say I don't agree with lithium at all. It's lithium and I forget what drug it is that you have to have your blood work taken every week. It might be lithium. I think lithium is something else. The person has to have their blood drawn every week to make sure that I guess their iron levels, their blood work is good, their cells and everything. I don't believe in that as a treatment. I feel like therapy, psychotherapy, all of that is a better treatment. Only if you need, I guess, medication. Some people can't help it. Like with the multiple personality disorders, they're going to give you lithium and lorazepam. It's going to calm those voices because they're going to go into psychosis eventually. But when you come off of that and you have not taken that for 2 weeks, and that person is wandering in the street like they do outside, if you live in Philly, it's a big homeless population. They are without their medicine so long that their body has now gone into psychosis. So when they come back to me, they are ready to beat me up because that 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 balance that lithium and lorazepam and all of that have brought them to is going to crash. So it goes just like this as an explosion, and then lithium just doesn't work to me. It doesn't. It has to be something different. So if you have a loved one and they want to put them on lithium, do not do it. Do not allow it. Figure out another alternative that can help them. You can help them with different therapy. I mean, try something else. Just try it. Yeah, I see it every day, and it's sad because those people out there, they haven't taken their medicine, or they ran away from the home, or the home discharged them. They no longer have services. Dually diagnosed, they give them the same thing too. If I've been on heroin or crack and I go back outside after being on lithium and everything else, and I go back outside and I do it, you have just created a shitstorm for that person. So I just say do something else besides it. It gotta be something else besides it in the mental health world. Y'all see it as therapists too, as well. Probably you see the psychosis as well, and it make it worse. The lithium makes it a lot worse to me.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of medication. I will say that. Do I think some people need it? Again, absolutely yes. That's how my uncle got schizophrenia and his form of psychosis is he was homeless for a really long time. But that's a whole other conversation because my grandfather was a piece of shit. So he put my uncle out when he was 18, which, hey, sweet.
Hi,
the other host of Women Wellness Wednesday. Thank you for joining. Everybody, please make sure you're sharing and tagging friends in. We have much more to talk about. But he put him out at 18, and then he was just out on the streets, and he was homeless for a really, 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 really long time. You know, something that I don't agree with. Like, I don't think you should put your kids out at 18. You don't put your kids out until they're ready.
They don't know
go.
nothing. They don't know anything.
You wait till they're ready to go. But you know, unfortunately, in the Black household, that is something that we are still working.
If I can make it in the street, you can make it in the street too. You should be able to be a man. What are you going
to break those curses? And so because of that, my uncle was homeless for a really long time, sleeping on a lot of park benches. Unfortunately, has a lot of physical ailments, has epilepsy, has a form of psychosis, has a form of schizophrenia. And these are just the basics. And when he does not take his medicine, he's a different person. He gets violent. Everything is the devil.
That's usually it. It's usually God and the devil.
Yeah.
It's some type of biblical something. It kind of pander back and forth. I see that a lot. I've seen that.
And so, you know, when his mood alters a lot, his mood changes. He can be very nice and loving, and then it could be like he an asshole. I'm just call it a thing. He's very aggressive. I tried to stray away from that. My mother, God rest her soul, she was big sis. So she was the one checking in, making sure that he was good and all of that. She could deal with that. That ain't my ministry. I'm going to just let y'all know that now. And it ain't that I'm turning my back on my uncle. It's just not my ministry. He's in a facility where they take good care of him for the most part. It's not my ministry. Let me just say that. I'm going to leave it there. So let's call me if you need something. I'll drop a pack of cigarettes off to you and get you a hoagie from Fresh Grocer. But living with me and taking care of someone, unfortunately, that has psychosis and some form of schizophrenia is not safe.
Don't do it.
It is not safe, and I don't want to wake up with you standing over top of me trying to stab me.
You're the devil. You will become the devil
because he ain't take his medicine for that day, and I just don't want to tag into that. So, no worries, baby girl. I know you're always busy and moving. Thank you for joining. But yeah, dealing with people that have personality disorders, mood disorders is very tough. You don't know what you're going to get on any given day. And you got to be prepared because you literally don't know what you're going to get, but you also have to make sure that you are safe and that that person is safe. So let's get into bipolar 2. Bipolar 2 is actually a lot shorter than bipolar 1, surprisingly. So bipolar 2, a diagnosis of bipolar 2 disorder requires someone to have at least one major depressive episode. So when we talk about depression is broken down into many different subcategories. So major depressive disorder is a form of depression. So they need to have at least one episode of major depressive, at least one major depressive episode, and at least one hypomanic episode. As we talked about hypomanic, people return to their usual functioning between episodes with bipolar 2. People with bipolar 2 disorder often first seek treatment as a result of their first depressive episode, since hypomanic episodes often feel pleasurable and can even increase performance at work or school, right? Kind of the opposite of bipolar 1. People with bipolar 2 disorder frequently have other mental illnesses such as anxiety disorder or substance use disorder, the latter of which can exhiberate symptoms of depression or hypomania. So when you spoke about the dual diagnosis, this is where we start talking dual diagnosis. You can have bipolar 2 and also have anxiety. You can have bipolar 2 and have a substance abuse problem. The substances probably, those go hand in hand. So this is where dual diagnosis comes in. So the treatment for bipolar 2 are similar to those for bipolar 1, medication and psychotherapy. Most commonly used medications are mood stabilizers and antidepressants, which I am not a fan of, but some people need them again, depending on the specific symptoms that a person is experiencing. If depressive symptoms are severe and medication is not effective, they will try to do something called ECT. Now, ECT treatment is basically like an electroshock treatment. I'm not sure if anyone is familiar with that, but an ECT, electroshock treatment, is basically, what is that show? I cannot think of the show. I'm gonna have to find it.
Make me think of like an asylum or something.
Yeah, exactly. So you think of like these shows, right? For those people that are movie people.
Oh, American Horror Story.
There we go. I couldn't think of it. I was like, wait. You go to these asylums, right? You ever see movies where people are in asylums, they're in a crazy house or whatever, and they do electroshock treatment. Basically, the point of the electroshock treatment is to basically shock their brain to restart it. So basically, it's a reset of their brain to try to get their brain to be normal, because again, bipolar disorder is a mood disorder. So in their minds, if they reset your brain, then they can reset those intrusive thoughts, those thoughts of suicide, those attempts of suicide, those thoughts of death. They are resetting your brain to be normal. The effectiveness of it, I don't know. I don't feel like we should be zapping people's brain cells.
Hold on, I got something to add to that. It's a little like fun fact. So the people that have done electric shock therapy, they should be, I want to say 40 to 50 and above. Whenever they close, Barberry, Penhurst, all of them, those are the people that we're talking about that have electroshock therapy. I don't know. You can Google it on, no, not Google it. You can YouTube it and see the documentary of the white guy. He actually exposed Penhurst for having kids in cribs and people with diapers, feces, swimming in it, eating it. Anything you can imagine was House of Horrors. So those people are the ones
that whole haunted house now, child. I want to
It basically is. It's a haunted house. I do want to go, but I felt a little awkward because I did have clients from Penhurst. So those people have
branched. Gonna come back and get you. I just thought you should know.
I don't like her.
I'm just saying you had to learn some afterwards.
I would just say that to scare me. So they have branched out and they have left those places, and when they let them go, those are the homeless people that you see. Those are the people that are residential. Those are the people that are in Friends. Those are the people that are now in crisis, CRC, Episcopal, whatever crisis place you can think of, Crozier, anywhere. Those people are the people that are outside running amok right now. Those are the people that had the electric shock therapy. So if you didn't know that, YouTube that. It's disgusting. But those are you step over when you were there. Those are the people in Center City that you're stepping over now. They've had their brains reworked and it didn't work.
So many times.
It like numerous times. I mean, if you were gay, they were doing it too as well. Like if you were a person younger and you were gay, they would try to zap the gay out of you. So those are the people y'all looking at outside that's going crazy.
And I think for me that's the sad part, right? Because these are so good. Every time I come on here or I'm on anybody's show, I'm always eating something. I'm a snacker. I love food.
A Sour Patch?
These are watermelon ones.
But you just told me not to eat fries.
One got the same health issues.
No.
Free diabetic. Free.
You keep it up, you're gonna be diabetic with me. You eat that bad Sour Patches.
I'm gonna stab myself with that pen and eat that slice of cheesecake.
We gotta work on that.
We're not. I'm gonna live the full life that God wants me to live. So anyway, I feel bad for the people that most homeless people are people, they have some type of mental illness. One, for the reason that you just said, they were in these facilities. The insurance no longer wanted to pay for it. The families couldn't afford to pay for it. Places closed down because they weren't doing what the heck they were supposed to be doing. So they kind of had to close down. And now you have all these people out here on the streets with all these different people in their head that they talking to. And the crazy part is a lot of these people, like when I look at homeless people, because I have a special place in my heart for homeless people, and maybe because of my own personal experience with my uncle, in 5 years when my transitional housing is up in part and running, that's probably going to be the population that I service the most will be the homeless population. But a lot of these people were like executives and Fortune 500s and went to war. Like these were regular people we're talking.
I had a banker. One was studying to be a doctor. One was studying to be a preacher. I mean, you name it. The most regular Joe is the person that you're going to encounter. You'd be like, is he eating out the trash? He was a lawyer. How was he eating out the trash? He'd be eating out the trash.
They lose everything. They go on the streets and people just step over them. I'm not going to say we, because I'm not part of that population that just step over a homeless person, because I realize that it's only through the grace of God that I'm not on the other side of that. So I treat homeless people proper. Now, I won't give y'all no money. Let me be clear about that. But I will feed you. If I'm going into the Dunkin' Donuts and you say, hey, can you give me a cup of coffee? I grab you a cup of coffee and a donut. What's that, $4? Whatever. I ain't going to give you no money, but I will feed you. I'm about to go in this Poppy store. You want a sandwich? You want some chips and a juice with it? You want a water? Okay. Stuff like that. One of my goals, I'm going to talk about this with Shannon, but I do want to do a BEN network thing where we feed the homeless this year. I want to go down there and give out care packages. Or it could be just a melanated vibration thing. I'm just saying, sis, I'm putting that out there now. But that has always been like one of my goals, is to go down and to feed the homeless. Like, they just need to know that there's people out there that care. Like, we're not here to
what population of homeless? Because you got the population.
I don't want the angry one. I'm not going in the tech community because I don't feel like I'm gonna come back from that. That's a secret society.
People do it all the time. They give haircuts. They be having full blown barbecues.
Secret society. All they ask is they be under the bridge though, and it be dark, and I just don't feel like
they ain't doing it at dark. I hope not.
What I'm saying is, I would like to go down Center City, preferably.
Oh, okay, you're bougie with it.
I mean,
the people on my they need a little bit of help too. What's wrong with that?
It don't have to be Center City. I can go around the city. My goal is to give out care packages and to, give out food. Like our father did that, right? When I was younger, that is why I have a love for homeless people. Like church every Saturday. Y'all don't even know, okay? Talk about being a PK. Church every Saturday. We would go to the mall and then we would go to church, and he ran like the whole homeless program, and we would make sandwiches. This why I don't eat bologna now. The thought of it make one gag. But we would make bologna sandwiches, and we had people that would donate clothes, and we would allow them to come in off the streets into the church, pick what they needed, give them, we would some Sundays or Saturdays they would cook breakfast for them and still give them a bag thing. And so I've been doing this for ever. There is a church. I'm not sure if they still do it. I was doing it all the way up into the pandemic. The Chosen 300. And that's a great question.
Because it's a cycle between the two. It's definitely a cycle between the two because they send you to jail.
Absolutely. Why isn't mental health being funded the way it's being funded by these prisons? These people are making billions and billions and billions of dollars off of the backs of inmates. Half of them shouldn't even be in there, but that's a whole different conversation. We're going to have another show for that. Half of them don't belong in there. Half of them have gotten more time than they deserve because of the color of their skin, unfortunately. But mental health is never going to it's starting to get attention, but the funding is never going to be the same. There are a lot of homeless in that area, sleeping in subway stations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I wouldn't mind going down there either. It smells like piss, but we're going to double mask up and we're going to go down there because at the end of the day, these people need help.
Mm-hmm.
And if it is just an act of kindness of just giving out a hot meal, then that's what we're going to do. Or just saying a kind word, because again, we're all one paycheck or one mortgage payment or one rent payment away from being on the other side of that. So I like to think that, I like to be humble when it comes to stuff like that. All right. So the last one for bipolar disorder that we are going to talk about is cyclothymic disorder. Again, CYCLOTHYMIC. So cyclothymic disorder is a milder form of bipolar disorder involving many mood swings. With hypomania and depressive symptoms that occur frequently, people with cyclothymic, y'all know what I'm trying to say. Try to say that word 3 times. It's a lot. Experience emotional ups and downs, but with less severe symptoms than bipolar 1 or bipolar 2 disorder. So for at least 2 years, many periods of hypomania and depressive symptoms, but the symptoms do not meet the criteria for hypomania or depressive episodes. During the 2-year period, the symptoms or mood swings have lasted for at least half the time and have never stopped for more than 2 months. They say that treatment for cyclothymic disorder can involve medication and talk therapy. Kensington is sad under the bridge and race and
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think that's important for you. Taking the kids, let them see.
Yeah. I show my daughter. She's doing needles on the side. I'm like, don't follow that path.
Mm-hmm. They also suggest that part of treatment is keeping a mood journal. It can be an effective way to observe patterns and mood fluctuation. People with disorder may start and stop treatment over time. So that is for bipolar disorder. Now we are going to get into my favorites, dissociative disorders. So just dissociative disorders. So a dissociative disorder involves problems with memory, identity, emotion, perception, behavior, and sense of self. Dissociative symptoms can potentially disrupt every area of mental functioning. Examples of dissociative symptoms include the experience of detachment of feelings as if one is outside of one's body, and the loss of memory or amnesia. Dissociative disorders are frequently associated with previously experienced trauma.
Mm-hmm.
There are 3 types of dissociative disorders. You have my favorite, dissociative identity disorder, and I had a client that had this. It was complete. It was bullshit, but go ahead. Dissociative amnesia, and the last one, depersonalization or derealization disorder. So that is that. I'm actually going to show the video of the movie Split because I really, really like that movie. In this movie, he is said to have had a dissociative identity disorder, also known as DID. So I'm going to show that clip, and then we will dive into the 3 different types. We don't want to watch Verizon.
I'm on Verizon now, and I got to choose
like
the phone I wanted for free.
Not that you're bragging.
Choose the phone you want on us. Verizon.
All right, there we go.
Hey, are
Pardon me, sir. I think you have the wrong car.
You've emailed for an appointment 2 days in a row.
Tell me what's going on.
I've never seen a case like this before. 23 identities live in Kevin's body. Did something happen?
There's a flower on the pillows, a flower in the bathroom. Like, we're important. Who is that?
Maybe she can help us.
We're here! We're here!
Don't worry. He knows what you're here for. He's not allowed to touch you. He knows that.
My name's Hedwig. I have red socks.
How old are you?
9.
The human brain is the most complex object in the universe.
The only way we're getting out of here is if one of them decides to let us out.
Aren't you the clever one?
Hedwig, could you help us?
Okay. I have a window in my room.
Maybe you could show us.
Oh, that's here. Now it's closed. Now it's open.
Did you think it was a real window? So you could leave?
An individual with multiple personalities can change their body chemistry with their thoughts.
Someone's coming for you.
What will happen when he unlocks the potential of his brain?
There is no limit to what he can become.
Tonight is a sacred night. You will be in the presence of something greater. The world will understand now. The beast is real.
He's done awful things to people, and he'll do awful things to you.
So, of course, that's an exaggeration of dissociative identity disorder. But the point of the video is to say that they can switch in between, have multiple personalities. You never know who's going to show up. So we'll get into dissociative identity disorder, and then I will share my story about my client that claimed they had it. So dissociative identity disorder, also known as DID, is associated with overwhelming experiences, traumatic events, and or abuse that occurred in childhood. Dissociative identity disorder was previously referred to as multiple personality disorder. Symptoms of dissociative identity disorder, criteria for diagnosis include the existence of 2 or more distinct identities or personality states. The distinct identities are accompanied by change in behavior, memory, and thinking. The signs and symptoms may be observed by others or reported by the individual. Ongoing gaps in memory about everyday events, personal information, and or past traumatic events. The symptoms cause significant distress or problems in social, occupational, or other areas of functioning. In addition, the disturbance must not be a normal part of a broadly accepted cultural or religious practice. As noted in the DSM-5, in many cultures around the world, experiences of being possessed are a normal part of a spiritual practice and are not dissociative disorder. The attitude and personal preferences, for examples about food, activities, clothes of a person with dissociative identity disorder may suddenly shift and then shift back. The shift in identities happens involuntarily. They are unwanted and cause distress. People with DID or dissociative identity disorder may feel that they have suddenly become observers of their own speech and actions, or their bodies may feel different, like a small child, like the opposite gender, huge and muscular. What else do I want to tell you guys about dissociative? Okay, so for people with dissociative identity disorder, the extent of problems functioning can vary widely. from minimum to significant problems. People often try to minimize the impact of their symptoms. So with people with dissociative identity disorder, there are risk factors in suicide risks. People who have experienced physical or sexual abuse in childhood are at an increased risk of dissociative identity disorder. The vast majority of people who develop dissociative disorders have experienced repetitive, overwhelming trauma in their childhoods. Among people with DID in the United States, Canada, and Europe, about 90% have been the victim of childhood abuse and neglect. Suicide attempts and other self-injury behaviors are common among people with DID. More than 70% of outpatients with dissociative identity disorder have attempted suicide. So what's the treatment? With appropriate treatment, many people are successful in addressing the major symptoms, of dissociative identity disorder and improving their ability to function and live a productive, fulfilling life. Treatment typically involves some form of psychotherapy. Therapy can help people gain control over the dissociative process and symptoms. The goal of therapy is to help integrate the different elements of identity. Therapy may be intense and difficult as it involves remembering and coping with past traumatic experiences. Cognitive behavior therapy and dialectical behavior therapy, so DBT, are two commonly used types of therapy. Hypnosis also has been found to be helpful in treatment of dissociative identity disorder. There are no medications to directly treat the symptoms of dissociative identity disorder. However, medications may be helpful in treating related conditions or symptoms, such as an antidepressant to treat the symptoms of depression. So, my experience with dissociative identity disorder is I had a young client come in and tell me that that is what they were diagnosed with. I think we might have been like 2 sessions, 3 sessions in, and they brung it up. And so I watched for a while just to I would take notes. Every week I would get somebody different. But this is why I called it bullshit. When people have dissociative identity disorder, unfortunately, it is because of a childhood, a traumatic experience that happened in the childhood, some type of abuse, neglect, sexual abuse, something like that. That child gets stuck at that age that the abuse happened. That is where that personality, all these other personalities come in, because the other personalities come in as protector personalities. So to protect that child that was unprotected because of that traumatic experience or a traumatic event that occurred. So with these different personalities that come, you will have a protector. You may have multiple protectors, multiple personalities that are protectors. That person even may go back and switch to that child that they were when the incident first occurred. So if a child was unfortunately molested, sexually abused at the age of 6, one of the personalities that this grown-up, do you believe in spirits?
I'm thinking that now.
And we kind of talked about some crazy stuff. I can't remember everything though. Do I believe in spirits? Absolutely. I don't entertain them, but I do believe in them. Yes. Abnormal psychology, that probably was one of my favorite courses.
That's my best class right now.
Yeah, I love abnormal psychology. It's definitely some crazy stuff, and you would think that a lot of the behaviors that have been exhibited are possessed people, that they are possessed with the spirit.
Yeah.
And so when that child got molested at whatever age, let's say again 6, that child will revert. That person, they can be 40, 45, 18, whatever. They will revert back to that child. But the switch of how it happens, again, it's not voluntary. They will literally have no control over it, and they will switch. It could be something that you were talking about in therapy, or you are talking about, and it will trigger something, and they may feel like they need to go back to that child. When I say go back to that child, I mean literally someone may even start to speak like they are a 6-year-old child. They may begin to act. They may want to appear physically with what they have on, their facial expressions, all of that. You may even have someone who unfortunately was molested a little later, or maybe it started younger and they got older and it was still happening, where if they are in the bedroom with their partner, they may try to play out the rape fantasy because that form of that personality kicks in, where they may want that person to dominate them as if they are reliving the traumatic experience that happened to them as a child. Again, they switch between personalities. You don't know what you're going to get. I call bullshit from my previous clients because they would say, they would come into session and I would say, well, who's with us today? And they would say, oh, such and such is with us. Okay, whatever, let's go with it. And I would ask, like, so tell me about such and such. How long have you been with this person? How old are you? What's your demographics? Tell me, you know, the traumatic experience that you experienced. Tell me about the trauma that you remember. And so every personality would give me a similar story, but then there would be parts where they would forget. And so again, right, we just talked about memory loss and all of that. My issue became an issue for me to say when we would be done session and they would say, next week, you'll get to meet such and such. How you gonna tell me a week in advance who's showing up to therapy next week? Again, multiple personality disorder, dissociative identity disorder, right? You don't know who's showing up because you don't know what we're going to talk about. You don't know what trigger, traumatic experience we may talk about where that person feels like they need to be present. So I call bullshit. I had a family intervention. I had one of the relatives come in. Excuse me. I expressed my concerns. They didn't like it. None of them. None of the personalities liked it. As you see with Split, he had 23 different personalities. This person had 104, which I don't believe you can have.
You can't have 104 personalities.
You can't have 104 personalities. You don't even know 104 people. Stop. Like, stop. Please. Stop. Just, I'm not new to this. Like, don't play in my face. I didn't like it. And so they had 104 personalities. They could name a lot of them, but they were still being created too. I said, well, how do you know you have 104 if they're still being created? So we would just get into like little questions. Fast forward, we have this intervention. This person, I feel like this probably was the realest emotion I got the whole daggone time we have been working together. Like, maybe you do have it because whoever this person is that just showed up in the room, I don't like it. It feels like a demon. I'm gonna burn some sage when you leave anyway. But they were very aggressive. Physically, the body changed. Facially, the body changed. The tone and voice changed. And they weren't pleased with me. And so they felt like, how can you be my therapist and you don't believe me? Well, one, because you're telling me that you were diagnosed with this, but I've seen no medical documentation. I have not seen a psychiatrist or a psychologist's signature on any medical documentation to say that you've been assessed. This is the medication you're on. I've seen nothing. And because every time you come into the room, yeah, you're different people when you come in, but you try to pre-warn me who's going to show up to next session. That's not how this works. I'm almost certain. I feel like you did a lot of YouTube videos and you read up a lot about dissociative identity disorder and you felt like I'm going to use this as a crutch. And I didn't like that. So with that being said, I no longer see that client because they were upset that I did not go along with it. One thing about me as a therapist, and especially as a Black therapist, I do not feel comfortable providing a diagnosis to people that look like me so easily. I do not believe in labeling people with things that I do not believe they truly have.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't. I think that the colonizers do enough of that when it comes to us. I think they put enough labels on us. I think when it comes to the mental health thing, they put more labels on us than we should have. Again, some people are overdiagnosed. Some people are underdiagnosed. Sometimes people are on medications that they should not be on. And so you wonder why this person's mood is all over the place because they shouldn't be on this medication because you don't even know all the other stuff that they're taking. It could be a cocktail of medications that they will have people on. And, you know, unfortunately, in the medical world, we are the most underserved population. And the level of care that we receive, especially in the mental health world, is not the same level of care that other races and ethnicities receive. So for me as a Black therapist, I don't feel comfortable giving someone that diagnosis. So I don't. Unless I see the behavior. And unfortunately with this person, I did not see the behavior. So I ain't going to say you got it. I ain't going to say you don't. What I'm saying is I don't see it. And that was the conversation. So I don't know if you've personally had any experience with someone with dissociative identity disorder, but
oh yeah, I've met personal people in my life that have had the dissociative disorder. And you can almost, it's almost like once you see it on everybody. And it does not switch like that. It switches in a way where, like, I would have to ask my client, I'd be like, okay, who am I talking to now? It could be a minute, like 60 seconds. I'm like, who am I talking to? Oh, it's me, Pluto. And the people from Mars told me that I have to go up there. Okay. Are you going to go there now? Yeah, I'm going to go there. I'm going to go there, Adairess. I'll be back. And he'll start rambling. And then another 60 seconds, he's someone else. And then he's the fourth person is himself. After everybody, the third person has attacked him, he becomes himself again. It switches like a light bulb. They're never tell you, hey, I will be this person. That sounds like they might be a little bit borderline personality disorder, slightly narcissistic, but borderline, because I look at borderline people as me. If you ever got somebody in your life that's me. Everything is centered around me and me and me and some more me and some more me and what I think, how I react. That's a borderline person. If it's obsessive to where we can't get past you, borderline. So that sounds like they were borderline. They just needed to get help from somebody else.
And it wasn't going to be me.
They wanted medication.
Apparently they were on it.
I don't know how. Why would you give somebody that?
Allegedly.
Why would you give somebody? That's why I said, why would they just? There's no person that want to keep their actual practicing licensure to ensure that they are a good fit, whatever diagnose somebody that they are not sure has dissociative identity disorder. I think it's something that should be more concentrated with, like the SVU episodes about the women that are raped and the kids that are molested and the people that, like, you know, are touched in any type of way. I see it a lot more in sexually abused people. Like, I can tell if somebody's been sexually abused, but I would never ever ask you that. I want you to tell me. I know somebody right now. I know for a fact that somebody has touched him because he has like this thing that he has gaps of, like, I don't know, or they melt down, or they not really sure who they are, or they kind of like they distance themselves in a certain way, and you can tell it when you see it. If you practice it or been around it or studied it, you can tell it automatically once you see it. It's so easy to see because they'll just shut down automatically, or they'll just make people the person they wanted to protect them. They create those people.
And so I'll get to the last two types of dissociative disorder. So the second one is depersonalization or derealization disorder. Now, this one is this disorder involves significant, ongoing, or reoccurring experiences of one or both conditions. So depersonalization, experiences of unreality or detachment from one's mind, self, or body. People may feel as if they are outside their bodies and watching events happening to them. Derealization is experiences of unreality or detachment from one's surroundings. People may feel as if things and people in the world around them are not real. During these altered experiences, the person is aware of reality and that their experience is unusual. The experience is very distressful, even though the person may appear to be unreactive or lacking emotion. Symptoms may begin in early childhood. The average age of a person's first experiences this disorder is 16. Less than 20% of people with depersonalization or derealization disorder first experience symptoms after the age of 20. Then we have the last one, which is dissociative amnesia. Now, this involves not being able to recall information about oneself, not normal forgetting, but actually amnesia. The amnesia is usually related to a traumatic or stressful event and may be either localized, which is unable to remember an event or period of time, which is the most common type. Selective, where you are unable to remember a specific aspect of an event or some events within a period of time. Or generalized, where you have a complete loss of identity and life history, which is very rare. Dissociative amnesia is associated with having experiences of childhood trauma, and particularly with experiences of emotional abuse and emotional neglect. People may not be aware of their memory loss or may have only limited awareness, and people may minimize the importance of memory loss about a particular event or time. This is dissociative amnesia. So that, good people, is dissociative disorders. Those are the ones that fall underneath of it. You guys have learned about bipolar disorder, the different forms of bipolar, what it looks like, the onset of it, how long it has to be. I hope this information was helpful to you guys. This is our last Monday in April, and next month is May, my birthday. Just put that out there. I do accept Cash Apps, Venmos, PayPal, so that's all I'm saying. But it's also my favorite topic, Mental Health Awareness Month. So with Mental Health Awareness Month approaching, we are going to ramp it up. I have so many topics that I want to talk about for Mental Health Awareness Month that I think will be very, very, very beneficial to you guys. So I'm super excited. Again, this is the last Monday of April, and then we get to get into my favorite month, birthday month and Mental Health Awareness Month. So yes, I'm going to make sure that I am doing a lot of things for my own mental health, as I hope that you all are doing the same and pouring into yourself. Sis, any last words for the good people this evening?
This is my last Monday as an undergrad.
Yeah!
If y'all see me stumbling in there, just know it's lit. But anyway.
Yes, her last Monday as an undergrad, and she is going to be done by the end of this week. She gonna have her degree in June, or graduation. She gonna have a degree before then. Thank you, Creamy. She's going to walk down that aisle. Yes, Brandy, it's lit. It's up and it's stuck. Listen, as soon as she get done that last paper, whatever she got on Friday, we out on Saturday. We turn it up. She ain't gonna remember who she was on Sunday, but we're gonna figure it out.
I'll make it home somehow.
I got you. I'll make sure you make it home. I don't want your husband trying to fight me because I don't want them type of problems. But it's super exciting. Congratulations, sis. Yes, Andrew. Congratulations. Like, this is very, 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 very exciting. I'm very proud of you doing this. So yes, I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's show. I hope you were able to get something out of it. We're turning it up a notch for Mental Health Awareness Month. We're going to talk about a little bit of everything. Like, I don't want to give too much stuff out, but one of the topics that I do want to talk about is domestic violence and how it is increasing. I'm noticing a lot of stories on social media about a lot of young ladies that are losing their lives due to being trying to get out of relationships with people, men that don't want to let them go, that can't take rejection, or murder-suicide, where they are taking themselves out, taking themselves away from their kids. It's very sad. It's something that's been weighing really heavy on my heart. And so I do want to make sure that I get to that next month. My goal is to try to get some survivors on the show. I don't like to call people victims. So my goal is to get some survivors on the show so we can talk, like have an open discussion about it. I think it's going to be great. I can't wait to see you guys next week. It is our first Monday in May. Until then, you guys have the most amazing week. Don't forget to tap into all the shows this week. The big exclusive show comes on tomorrow at 7. Women's Wellness Wednesday at 6. Jimbo on Thursdays at 7. And Unlatched on Fridays at 9. I'll see you guys in the comments. Have a good night. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, good people. Welcome to Melanated Vibrations, a new show that celebrates the diversity and richness of Black culture. Join us as we delve into our individual mental health and overall mental health of our community. From the latest trends to the timeless coping mechanisms, we'll showcase the best of what it means to be mentally healthy.